Hi everyone, welcome to my first Journal with Me video. Hopefully I will be doing more of these throughout the year, but I always think it's really interesting to see what kinds of spreads people put into their bullet journals and reading journals, so I thought it would be fun to make videos about what kinds of spreads I do for my reading journal. So this video is going to be kind of all of these spreads that I do for the whole year. So these are the things about like tracking my reading and important dates for reading and stuff like that throughout the year. And then my plan is to continue making monthly spread videos throughout the year. So this first spread that I am doing is my future log. This is something that a lot of people put into bullet journals, but not necessarily specific for reading journals. But I don't really keep a planner, but if I have a reading log or a future log in my reading journal, I know that I will see these dates because I look at my reading journal pretty frequently. So it's just a way for me to keep track of important dates during the year. For these spreads that are for the entire year, I'm pretty much keeping the color palette to just black and white. A little bit later I add some gray to, mix it up because I'm just gonna go wild. But I try to keep it pretty neutral for the beginning of the year since this has to last for the entire year, and then when I get to the monthly spreads I'll pick like a theme and a color palette and everything for the month. So for this one you'll see that it's all pretty much just black and white and a little bit of gray. This stamp that I'm using here is something that I'm actually super excited about because last year I had pretty much the same setup for my future log, but I had to write out all of these tiny calendars and it took forever, and it was just like, it takes forever, it's boring, it makes my hand hurt, it's terrible to like write out billions of tiny calendars. So this year I finally got a little stamp for the calendars so that I could just stamp them, and it just made the whole thing so much easier and so much better. And you can just see here, like, there are so many tiny calendars and this stamp is so handy. And now I'm just going in and writing the names of the months, and I have terrible handwriting, both print and cursive. I've been trying to make it better, but it's still really bad, so just ignore that I have really bad handwriting. Also, you'll probably see that the way I set up my calendars, I like for calendars to start on Monday instead of Sunday because it doesn't make sense to me why we split up the weekend. That makes zero sense. I think that the week starts with Monday and then Saturday and Sunday should be together at the end, but that's just how I like to set up my week. The page that I'm doing right now is my 2021 at a glance, so it's just all of the dates for next year in case I need to know any of them for some reason. I put one of these pages in every bullet journal I've had, and I have never once used it. But every time I still feel like maybe I will need it someday. So at this point, I've just accepted that I have to sacrifice one page for my Michigas. So this next spread, which is going to be the next like 4 pages, are 2020 releases. I already have 2 videos that are my most anticipated releases for 2020, so if you want to see those, I'll link them below. But this is just where I'm going to kind of keep track of any releases, so it's going to include those most anticipated releases and then probably some other releases also that may not have made it into like top tier most anticipated, but I'm still excited about and I wanted to keep track of them. And I'm pretty much just setting this page up the same way as the future log, where I have all the little calendars on the side for each month so that I can see the dates, and then in the space beside it I will fill in the release dates for all of the releases coming out that month. And then here is my little calendar stamp coming in handy again. Like, it's a little thing, but this stamp just made everything so much easier and it just made me so happy. I'm so glad I got to use it. The next pages I'm doing are my wish list and subgenres, and I spell subgenres incorrectly, and I didn't realize this until later, and it's going to haunt me for the rest of the year. There's supposed to be an E there, not an A. Anyways, wishlist is just going to be for all of the books that are not new releases this year, but things that I don't want to forget about and I want to get at some point. Subgenres is going to be for books that are like in little niche genres that I want to get books from. So like books about books, I might have a little list and I can just list out to remember what are the books about books that I want to get or read. Then I'm doing my TBR shelf and my books bought page. So the TBR page is just all of the books that are on my TBR shelf at the beginning of the year so that I can keep track of what I'm reading from my TBR. And then the books bought are just all of the books that I haul throughout 2020 so I can keep track of which books I am buying and reading within the same year. And these are pages that I had very similar spreads in my last reading journal, but I didn't give them enough space, so this year they each get their own page, so there's lots of space. And then at the bottom of each page, I'm putting a little section that says read, DNF, and unhaul, so that's so I can keep track of like what happened to those books. How did they get taken off of my TBR shelf? Then I'm doing my goals page, and I'm going to be filling out my reading goals and my channel goals here. I haven't totally finalized them yet. The next page is my 2020 TBR, so these are going to be the top 10 books that I'm going to read in 2020 or that I want to read in 2020. Both of these pages, I'm going to be doing videos about these topics, so reading and channel goals and then 2020 TBR, so those will be coming out pretty soon probably. And then this is my books read stats. I realized later that I didn't put the word stats on this page, so I added it in after I finished filming this. But so these are all of the stats so I can keep track of them throughout the year. About the books that I read total, books that I DNF, books I unhaul, and then I have like genres, types of authors, age ranges that I read, how many pages the books are, things like that. So I don't have to calculate it all at the end of the year. I can just kind of keep a tally of it throughout the year. In this section that's genres also, there's a part at the bottom where it says graphic novels and anthologies, and I know that those aren't genres, but by the time I remembered that I wanted those in a list, I had already kind of set everything up, and I didn't want to go back and like reorganize everything and make space for it, so I just put it in genre, and I'll shuffle it around at the end of the year when I have to. And this next spread is for video ideas. The first page says master list, and so that's going to just kind of be a list of all of the different video ideas that I have so that I don't forget them, because I have a list on my phone, but I wanted one in my reading journal as well. And then the other page is going to say lists, and so this page is where I can kind of explain what that master list means. So like if I have an idea for a type of recommendation, I'll be able to make a list of what books are in that recommendation. And then here is the final product. I've erased all of the pencil lines. Everything is finished now. So these are the spreads for my 2020 reading journal. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, bye!